Howdy everybody, how y'all doing? And welcome to the Ice House. We try to keep things cool, calm, collected, and mostly a bit chill, right? I'm thinking it might be time to let Cubert out of the freezer again, but just kind of like the Pucks and Honey Phil, I wouldn't want him to see his own shadow or melt and not see his own shadow. Anyway, I digress. Right? Well, I know I've talked a lot about artificial intelligence, on here, on Twitter, and, well, I've been thinking about this lately, and one of the things I've been realizing is that as we talk about artificial intelligence as a tool, as a sort of a way to kind of jumpstart an idea, and I know we've also talked about how we're all just teaching that whole Skynet in the sky, redundancy, all about, well, what we think, what we want to know, what we want to create based on something that already exists online, right? So, and obviously there's all the concerns about what is seeding the AI, where the information's coming from. It's all a big deal, right? So, here's the thing, in context now. One of the things I know we've all been noticing, not just on YouTube or online, but even in commercials you'll see on streaming services. I think it's on network TV, even though I don't really watch network TV, so you can tell me if I'm wrong. But all these websites like Grammarly and basically all these websites that are telling us that we probably don't know how to write a professional email, so we need something to help us and write it for us. Like, I'm sure you've seen it, these commercials where it's taking two people who are trying to write a professional email, and one gets there faster by using the AI program, which I feel like in sort of a competition that might be actually cheating, relying on other sources. So aside from the disqualifying the logic of that actual commercial, I also think it's an interesting spin, right? I know they're trying to promote their brand and trying to say we can do it better, but can you really? I mean, if the AI is based on good professional letters, hopefully at this point from real people and real professional letters, then somebody figured out how to do this right and do this well and professional. So there's something to be said about, well, wouldn't it? I mean, have we gotten past the point where we're just not willing to learn how to do something, not learn the skill? We're just gonna Google it or use a Google feature to, do it for us? I mean, I like to talk about proof sets, but I feel like even that's a decade or two old of an idea, right? And I hate to talk about math again, but the whole thing about math proof sets is, proving how you got the answer, not just saying you put the equation up and you know how it works. Because let me tell you, there's plenty of times where people get the right answer, but they kind of hodgepodge their way through, and they know the principles, but they skipped a couple steps and, well, the math is funky, even though the answer is correct. But proof sets are important, right? So one of the questions is, when we're talking about non-math, non-equation sort of things, I mean, where's a formula to prove that these professional writing tools, in this instance, are better than what you might be able to come up with yourself, right? Because, I mean, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about tone and inflection, and we all know the jokes about how tone and inflection come off much differently when you're writing in text, or texting someone else, versus all the nonverbals that come out when you're talking in person or even over the phone, right? You can hear some of the differences in just reading a text speech, because so often reading something in text is really adding and projecting a lot of our own personal nonverbal tones and where we're at in that moment onto that text. So unless you really know the person and really know the conversation going on, well, you could misinterpret it a lot, right? And I guess maybe that's what they're saying with this AI program, but once again, wouldn't you want to learn how to communicate well rather than relying on a computer? Because what happens if you have to talk to somebody, or if you've been using this program so long that one day you're not on your normal computer, it doesn't have your normal kind of rhythms and pacing, and you need to reply to somebody, and all of a sudden your tone and every nuance is off, and so they get confused because they don't even think they're talking to the same person. I mean, or what if you change programs? You know, you think this writing tool is better and it writes your emails for you. Well, all of a sudden, is there going to be a distrust of the person they think they're talking to? Right? I don't want to deal with that. So, like I said, an AI is a good tool if it's based and seated on something that, well, has value, which, I mean, that's hard to tell. But the other thing is, beyond this, learning how to write for yourself or communicate for yourself, which, let's face it, kind of feels like it's becoming a lost art, because it seems like we're communicating more in derivative means, or memes, well, by derivative means, with memes, with AI, with Xerox copies of a Xerox copy of an idea, and, well, I know there's somebody out there with creative thought that put something new in there, which I think is why some of the AI stuff is helpful, like a good seed prompt for an idea, but at the same time, it cannot replace the creative mind, because the mind that wants to create something inspired by something is not the same as a tool that is being derivative and copying or just sort of amalgamating ideas that comes across as something kind of new and inventive, when the mashup just worked better this time, right? Because, like I said, they're fun tools, but they cannot replace the creative mind. So, okay, that tangent aside. So, what happens when two people who are communicating back and forth are using the same or different AI programs to create their, well, professional emails, right? So, your tone is responding to a created tone through a sort of artificial intelligence and idea and tool. So, all of a sudden you're having a communication that is taking out, well, the person and the actual people involved. And all of a sudden, it's kind of an odd thing, sort of thing, that can sort of cycle and escalate in a way that, I don't know, maybe we're learning, well, we're teaching how AI talks to each other, and maybe it's learning how to have conversations based on these email chains that it will then seed and feed into and then spit back out, creating a really uncomfortable feedback loop that begins to take away the human element entirely, right? Because the AI is learning through what it says, and it becomes part of the program. well, that's going to be probably used for other people in certain ways, and as it learns how to better communicate based on what it thinks and learns is best. And if I don't stop there, I'm going to get a headache, right? Now, to me, this presents a problem once again, because it's taking out the human element, the creative element, the, even I would say, inspired element of people honing and crafting an idea and saying something in a intentionally nuanced and, well, personal way that a program wouldn't ever understand. Just like writing a song, writing a poem. It can put some words together, but it won't catch the heart of somebody because it doesn't know the heart of somebody. Chew on that. And I'm not talking about Trident. I know, I'm a little bit ADD today. But, yeah, I think it's a big important thing to think about. Well, not just foregoing to what an AI or somebody thinks the tool would say would better. I mean, it's the same thing as when somebody comes in and rewrites all your words and says, this is how you should do it because this is how I think it should be done, right? It still takes away your value. And if you're not going to let another human being come in and take away your value in your creative process, why are you going to allow a computer that's based on hundreds of thousands of people to come in and take away your creative process just to make it sound better? I don't know. Maybe you can tell me down in the comments. Or if you have any thoughts and think I'm coming too harshly on the, coming across too harshly on these AI tools. Because, like I said, I appreciate some of them. But I also think we need to have checks and balances. Now, the last thing I'll say, if you're still sticking around, is the, I want to point out the Google Gemini commercial that got pulled from the Olympics this year, right? And there were a lot of people complaining about it. Even Sugarwaddle saw it and said, that's kind of interesting because the whole Dear Sydney, which I mean, it's in Paris, not Australia, so that's a first bit of confusion. But saying, hey, you know, my kid admires this athlete, but we want this letter to be right and sound good. So we're going to use a program to say things instead of a heartfelt thoughts of a child, which, let me tell you, I think the whole idea of removing childlike admiration and their ability to say things in that sweet, unjaded innocence is kind of terrible, right? And a lot of people thought so the ad got pulled. So, yeah, I think as much as we want to say that the AI is a great learning tool, which I do think it is, I think taking away the heart and soul of somebody, or promoting taking away the heart and soul of, well, a child being able to communicate something fun and positive and inspiring to an athlete who, well, inspired them, I think that kind of feedback loop of honesty, of words that may be disjointed but, well, much more honest and much more real, that can be understood by the reader, is way better than trying to trust a machine to make us sound better and more human and more proper. Because, think about it, that doesn't even make sense. Well, that's all I got for you today. And, you know, maybe think about writing a handwritten letter to somebody, or at least, if it's a digital note, write it in your own thoughts, because somebody out there could appreciate a little bit of honesty from you sometime. So, till next time, let me know what you think down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that stuff, and we'll see you next time. Bye!